Syracuse basketball was picked to finish 11th in the ACC media poll. Do you agree with that?
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, everyone. It is part 2 of the season preview guide for Syracuse basketball. I'm Jackson Holzer. This is Locked On Syracuse. We are joined by Neil Adler from Inside the Loud House. In case you missed part 1, don't worry. You can totally check that out after this. We went over the roster itself in general. We talked about the new players on this team. We talked about the returning players. And we talked about the strengths and the question marks on this roster for this upcoming season. Now it's time to maybe get a little bit more general. We'll talk about the most important games, the season expectations, and predictions. By the way, Syracuse basketball picked to finish 11th in the ACC media poll. I don't know, Neil. I mean, that seems a little bit low, but we'll talk about it soon. Before we get to all that, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, Neil, let's go over the most important games for Syracuse basketball. And before we do that, the goal, of course, is to get back to the NCAA tournament. In order to get back to the NCAA tournament, they're probably going to have to overachieve 11th in the ACC, unless, of course, you are NC State and you decide to get hot at the right time, right?
Right.
What do you think is the first statement game for Syracuse basketball? The first one where you're like, we'll know about this team after this.
Great question.
So come out right away with the hard questions.
Yeah, gosh, you're supposed to feed me like easy cream puffs. But thanks for having me on again, buddy. I appreciate it. And obviously, like, you're very excited for the season. And yes, being picked number 11th in the ACC preseason media poll was lame, but it also means nothing. So with that said, I'm intrigued by Monday night's game against Lemoyne. It's obviously nearby Lemoyne, their second year in Division I. But I don't know. No disrespect to the Dolphins, I don't think Syracuse is going to have a lot of trouble with them. Their second game is against Colgate, so more than a week later, they have a week, more than a week off. They've had trouble with Colgate in recent years, and Colgate's been I'm not sure where they're projected in the Patriot League this year. I haven't really delved into that yet, but they're a good team. And
you can keep talking. I will look up the Patriot League projected.
Yeah, you do that. I mean, I normally do that before I do previews and stuff, and I haven't gotten there yet. But they're a tricky team. But if we're moving beyond that, clearly the first one that we're really looking at is in the Legends Classic. I think it's the week before Thanksgiving, and they play two.
All right. Colgate is projected to finish atop to be the leader in the Patriot League. So
no surprise there. I mean,
they are the 4-time defending Patriot League champions.
Yeah, they're in the NCAA tournament. They give teams tough outs as like a 13 or 14. They're extremely well coached. And haven't they beaten Syracuse? Was it twice in the last 3 years?
Twice in the last 3.
And the other one in
the last 3.
Yeah, the other one we had to come back from. Yeah, so that's not going to be a gimme. And Colgate's not going to come into the Dome and be like scared of Syracuse. Oh, it's so I mean, do I think Syracuse will win the game? I do. But it's not a gimme. But then if we're talking about getting into Power 4, Power 5, whatever the number of conferences are that are powers these days, I lose track. Obviously, playing Texas in that first game in the Legends Classic, they're preseason, I believe, top 20. They're going to be one of the better teams in the Big 12, and everyone loves to talk about the Big 12 being
no, SEC, right?
Oh God, they're in the SEC now. Oh my God, such a moron. Gee, I haven't had enough coffee today. You're right. Well, the SEC is going to be really good this year too. I mean, Alabama is going to be a top 5 team. Texas is a good team. Obviously you've got Kentucky with Pope and Cal and Arkansas and all these other, but I think that'll be a good barometer test for Syracuse. I mean, they certainly had some tough non-conference games last year in Maui, and did not fare super well. But they were early season. They had a roster of mainly sophomores, and they played Tennessee and was it Gonzaga? But they had some tough matchups. So the Legends Classic, I think the second game is either Texas Tech or St. Joseph's.
Yeah. So we don't know who they're going to play unless the
right. And Texas Tech, I think was receiving votes in the preseason poll. So but beyond that, I mean, there's that game against Tennessee. I believe it's the first week in December.
December 3rd, they go to Tennessee for the ACC SEC Challenge. Last year, Syracuse caught a break. They got about as easy of an SEC team as
they got LSU
at home. Game was at home, and it was against the worst team in the SEC last year, which was LSU. That's about as dimmy as it gets. And guess what? They took advantage of it. So this year, the schedule makers are like, that's cute. We're going to give you Tennessee on the road. Thank you so much.
On the road. So, yeah, that'll be a tough one. I mean, Tennessee did lose some of its players from a team that went to the Elite Eight last year, but they're still
12th in the country.
They're a preseason top 15 team, and that'll be – I mean, I'm not saying Syracuse can't potentially win, but then again, they lost to Tennessee in Maui, which was on a neutral court last year. But I just think this team is more veteran. And, that was my biggest thing with the team last year. I mean, dude, they won 20 games for the first time in a regular season in a decade. In Autry's first year with a tough non-conference, some injuries, and a bunch of sophomores. So, I have no gripe. I mean, obviously, they missed the NCAA tournament for the third straight year. But my biggest gripe with Syracuse last year is when they lost big. Now, I don't know. Maybe it'd be worse if they would lose a bunch of games by a buzzer beater. Maybe that would stink even more. But
no,
you know what I'm saying?
It would suck, but their tournament case would be a lot better, and they would be a lot higher in the net.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing I'm not saying Syracuse is going to go undefeated in the regular season, but I do think a game against Tennessee on the road with a more veteran roster, assuming kind of everyone's kind of on the same page, I'm not saying they're going to win, but I feel like they have – be more, and some of those losses last year, they were competitive until the second part of the second half.
So,
and then it kind of,
I guess the better way to phrase it is be competitive for 40 plus minutes.
For the whole, exactly.
Against Tennessee, they had a lead in the first half. The game was close with 5 minutes left. If you go look back on it, the game was close. The game was in the balance against Tennessee last year with 5 minutes left. And then Tennessee goes on a massive run.
Yeah, they just closed it out. They crushed them. Yeah,
they win by nearly 20, I think, and that hurts your net. It looks like a blowout, even though it wasn't. But that's where the score can sometimes lie to you. And I'm with you on this. When I look at Syracuse's schedule, I say, okay, first of all, Colgate on November 12th. That's a home game. What I want to see. You got to take the next step. Last year, I just wanted them to win. Just win the game.
Good. Get over the hump. Yeah.
Just get over the hump. Enough with this Colgate losing, okay? I know they're a tournament team, but they're still in the Patriot League. Come on. I don't even know if they've won a tournament game since they've been in it 4 consecutive years.
They've had a couple where they gave the higher seed trouble, but I don't think they've won in a first.
And I was sick of it. They beat them last year. That was good. This year, I want you to basically mop them. How about that? We'll if you can beat them by 10 plus, we'll have a better idea. Texas is going to be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I think the games that are out of conference that could go either way, kind of like a Maryland at the Barclays Center.
Yeah, that could be an interesting
one because Maryland is one of those teams. I think they were receiving votes for top 25. They should be a pretty good team this year.
They were.
Those are teams that you could be competing with come tournament time. And by that, I mean, you're trying to argue, should this team get in? Should this team not get in? They could be both on the bubble. Maybe, hopefully for Syracuse's sake, we're talking about seeding. Should they be a 6?
Right.
Should they be an 8?
Are they going to be a 6 or an 8? Right.
Yeah. Hopefully it's more of that discussion. And you're
right. But no, Maryland's
one of those teams. How did we do against Maryland? So any one of those games to me are ultra important. And I guess you have to find a way with Duke, Virginia, or North Carolina all being at home this year. You can't get swept in that 3-game series. I think if you can at least win 1, cross your fingers for 2, I think you're in good shape because they don't play any of those teams on the road.
No, they get them all at home. I think
they get them all at home.
Virginia's the last one of the season, right? Is that? Did I make?
Virginia is the last game of the season. Last game of the regular season. Yeah, March.
And who knows what's going to be going on with them, frankly, with the coaching change. So
our friends over at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate football fan or basketball fan isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, or an agonizing overtime, which we saw yesterday with Syracuse football, and they won. So it wasn't really agonizing than that, right? Which is why they've created the Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel, the energy shot made just for super fans like us, the fans who are first in the parking lot and who are last to leave. We see you. And you know what gave me the Fan Fuel moment this week? Well, when Syracuse football walked it off with a fumble yesterday. That was fantastic. That was really, really nice to see. Syracuse football now 6-2. 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you're prepping for the big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here to help keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5 Hour Energy. Available on 5hourenergy.com, shipped nationwide. I want to speak on that little side note here, and then we'll get to season expectations in general.
Sure.
I understand what Tony Bennett said. I believe he resigned because he's like sick of the current college game and everything like that. I get it. 2 weeks before the season started?
Wow, there was some
now in March or now in April. Like, why couldn't you do it then?
Sure. And that's a fair point, Jackson. From what I read, I don't pretend to know Tony Bennett or people in Virginia. From what I read is he didn't 100% know until he, I don't know if he had a fall break and he was, with his wife and just reflecting. And that's when he finally knew. But I think he had inklings before that, based again on what I've read. But I think the reason
I've seen that too.
Why he waited till right before the season, I think, from what I've read, is to ensure that one of his assistants was named the interim coach for this year.
That makes sense.
If he resigned months ago,
then they probably go on a national search
and brought someone in. Now, yeah, but to your point, some people are like, well, is that really fair to the team? There's logical discussion points on either side, and I think he's a really good guy. And it's sad to see that the state
he makes
of college
his own decision. It's best for him. I'm just pointing out,
it's sad to see. No, you're right. Nothing has changed. It's been this way. I mean, obviously, NIL is getting more and more prevalent, and there's going to be revenue sharing coming up. But the portal's been the portal for a couple of years now, and conference realignment is ongoing. But he was one of the guys. He was a coach. He's back to Washington State before Virginia. Before all this. So Coach Autry mentioned when asked about it, I think at the media day, a couple Fridays ago, and he said, "Well, for me, I just came in last year as the head coach, so this is nothing new for me." So he, but for a Tony Bennett, he just decided it wasn't for him anymore. And it's Jay Wright, retired relatively young, and the landscape's different, man, for better, for worse. I think players should be able to earn endorsement income from NIL, and I don't have an issue if they even earn revenue share. But there's going to be so many more changes, and I hope it doesn't affect non-revenue Olympic sports. And and you and I are obviously diehard college sports fans. Syracuse is our alma mater. We love Syracuse, but it's a different job now. You're recruiting at the high school level, out of the portal, overseas, but then you also have to retain your own team. It's just different. And maybe Tony just got there could be an argument made that maybe he should have said something sooner for his players' sake or whatever, or maybe he did, or I don't know. But I also understand why he did he seems like a pretty stand-up guy. So it's just a shame. It's a shame. But anyway, Getting back to Syracuse, we'll have to see. Virginia was pricked, I think, fifth in the ACC preseason?
Yeah, I think they were pretty up there.
Wake Forest was up there, and Clemson, and then Virginia. Yeah, I got up here, right here, buddy. Yeah, Virginia was fifth. I don't know that we'll see they've had a couple of, I believe, 2025 guys either decommit or hit the portal or whatever. And so who knows what they're going to, and I wish them well. I mean, who knows with them. I do agree with you that given that they only play Virginia, Duke, and UNC at home, it'd be nice to, I think it personally would be lovely to get 2 out of 3.
Oh, I think we would all love to. I think right now at this very moment, we'll sign for 1.
Sure, of course. And, again, but given the way Virginia is kind of in flux, it's like I want to look at that as like, even though Virginia's kicked Syracuse butt a lot in recent years, like it's going to be different. So like I look at that as I'm feeling better about that, although it is the last game of the regular season, so it's a long time. But like, Duke and UNC are obviously preseason prognostication wise the cream of the crop, and they both have really good rosters. But Syracuse beat UNC at home last year.
They did.
They could do it again. Duke looks loaded, but they have a lot of new pieces, new friends. And Syracuse is going to come to play with that, with a former Syracuse player on Duke's roster, and I wish him well, but I hope Syracuse kicks Duke's butt. Malik can go for 40 and 40 if Syracuse wins the game. It's fine. But the Syracuse, I think on paper has a pretty favorable ACC schedule. I'm not saying it's easy.
I mean, the fact that you only have to play Duke once, Carolina once, and they're both at home. I mean, we loop Virginia there as well because, Syracuse just doesn't win in Virginia. And Virginia's typically a very good team anyway. So it's pretty favorable, the fact that you get all 3 of those games at home. And yes, they got to go to the West Coast a few times, but you know what?
They do.
Crimea River, all right? Like,
well, everyone's got to deal with that. So
they all got to deal with it. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. You know why? Because a lot of these guys, they want to go pro, right?
They're going to be traveling a lot when they go pro.
They're going to have to do it when they're a pro. So, like, do it. You might as well do it now. Like, figure it out. I don't care about West Coast. The fact that you get Duke and Carolina and Virginia at home, I think is very favorable for Syracuse. So that's the most important games on the schedule. We're joined by Neil Adler from Inside the Loud House. Let's go over the season expectations.
Sure.
I think from how we've been talking since part 1 and now into part 2, I think we're a lot higher on Syracuse. Of course we are, because we're Syracuse fans. But we are a lot higher than where the ACC media poll has us, which is 11th in the poll. So we're in the bottom half of it. Now, you can take that for what it's worth. Yes, me and Neil, we are alums. We are homers. We root for our team, and we generally we're fans, which stands for fanatic. So we have to give that disclaimer here, but I will say this. When the football team was picked to finish like 12th, I think, in the media poll, me and you were both like, I'm not so sure about that. And lo and behold, Syracuse football, they're 3-2 in the conference, 6-2 overall. I think they're on track to finish a lot higher than 12. So
for sure.
Maybe we do know more just because, we're Syracuse fans.
Well, yeah, Jackson, and we're both homers, but both you and I, and you being the host of this podcast, me being the editor of the Loud House site, we're not afraid to be homers, but also be realistic. And I think
we're not calling here saying Syracuse a Final Four team.
I think the thing is, both with the football team and the preseason, first of all, preseason, take with the proverbial grain of salt. But I think even with the football team,
then finish to win that conference or win the conference.
So don't feel bad about that. And I was not sad when Clemson lost to Louisville yesterday either. But like for Syracuse football and basketball, I think part of it is that with these preseason polls, it's like, both sports with the transfer portal and everything, teams all over the place have revamped rosters. But then with Syracuse, you also look at like recency bias or recent track, however you want to put it. Syracuse basketball hasn't made the NCAA tournament in 3 years. I think they took a step in the right direction in Autry's first year last year, and then they have 7 of 12 guys are new, and they lost Judah Mintz, who was their leading scorer, and some other, Malik Brown's some other good players. So it's like the recency bias. They haven't been that good in the ACC in recent years, even though they've made some moves in the big dance. I get it. I think 11 is too. Last year they were 10. They ended up in a tie for 5th and got the 7th seed in the ACC tournament. But 11 I don't know. But I think part of it for me football, it's like
Syracuse was a lot higher in the ACC last year.
Well, I think they were projected in the preseason poll at number 10.
Oh, you're talking about projections.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think
and they finished in a tie for 5th, but they got the 7th
same
seed.
conference record last year as Clemson.
I know. That's what
People
I'm saying.
don't even realize, like, the same one as who made the Elite Eight.
I know.
It's a tough league.
Totally. Yeah. Clemson was great in the tournament. Shoot, they beat Baylor. They beat Arizona. Anyway, but and then even with football, like, not to digress, but they're 13-13 the last 2 years, made bowls, but like slid at the end of the second half of the seasons. Obviously, a new head coach, a first year and a first time head coach, and just a completely new roster. So it's like they're kind of mysterious. They're a mystery. But like focusing on basketball again, like, I don't know what to make of the ACC. And obviously, in recent years, they've had a ton of tournament success, but they're not getting a lot of teams in. That's like, an issue that I know the commissioner and everyone's, in the ACC offices are trying to get more teams in. So like a team like Syracuse or a team like Louisville or Notre Dame, some of these, well-known brand
team that people are kind of sleeping on. I think Louisville's going to be really good.
Yeah, so do I.
They brought in some dudes in the portal, and they had to because they stunk. And they got a new head coach.
Uh-huh.
I think they're going to be pretty good.
Yeah, that Kelsey dude. Yeah. No, I think but that's the thing. It's like
higher on, I think, the consensus.
There's a lot of these teams like if you presume Duke, North Carolina kind of at the top, but then I'm looking at the preseason, Wake Forest, they've got some nice players. Clemson
I saw that. Okay, I know Hunter Salas is really good over at Wake Forest, but is he like what I know he is, but is he? I saw a list out there that he was like top 15 in the country. Is he really a top 15 player in the country?
I mean, I remember following him.
But I just want to point it out. Like, are you sure?
I remember I believe he played at Gonzaga prior to transferring, and he was a very highly ranked recruit. So, yeah, but I mean, that's my point. Is like all these teams.
I don't know why Wake is so high, but. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like
this is the Locked On Wake Forest podcast. This is Locked On Syracuse podcast.
No. But like, we're looking at like teams like 3 through 11, like after Duke, North Carolina, Wake Forest, Clemson, Virginia, Miami, Pitt, NC State, Louisville, Notre Dame, and then us. I mean, any of those teams could be anywhere. I mean, Pitt's been to the tournament recently. NC State obviously went on a magical run last year. I agree with you, Louisville. That will be better. Miami went to the tournament, the Final Four 2 years ago and struggled last year, but they got a 5-star freshman who was a former Syracuse recruit, and they could be.
They lost Northside O'Meara though to Baylor. That was a big one for them.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, no, I mean, there's just so much movement. It seems like there's just going to be like this muddle in the middle. I do think Syracuse is going to finish higher than 11th. I don't necessarily think they're going to finish first or second, but they could finish in the top.
We'll take that. We'll take
8.
First or second. That'd be nice. But knowing Syracuse, if they finish first or second in the ACC, Joe Lenardi will maybe have them in last 4 in.
Right, in the first 4. That's
One
cool.
day I got to get him on the podcast. I don't know how to reach out.
Oh God, please get him on. I know a lot of people give him. I know a lot of Syracuse fans give him stuff, but he takes it so gracefully, and I do it
all in fun. I think it's hilarious.
I like him. I mean, he's not the most. There's more accurate bracket, but I mean, he's great. I love him.
If Syracuse starts the season like 16-0 or whatever, I would love to have him on and be like, "So where do you have Syracuse?" And he'll be like, "Oh my God, last 4 in right now." They still could lose out,
maybe a 10 seed. Yeah,
maybe.
Hey, listen, we like Syracuse.
You won your conference. You didn't lose a single. You didn't lose a single game all year. 9 seed.
Yeah. Well, so to get to your expectations and predictions, I had something out not too long ago, where I project. I think I had Syracuse at 9-2 in the non-conference and 12-8 in the ACC, 21-10 overall. 21. I definitely think they're going to win at least. Definitely. I'm confident they're going to win at least 20 regular season games. I am, between the non-conference and the ACC.
Well, I think they should. I mean, they should, in theory, start 3-0. I mean, you got Lemoyne, Colgate, Youngstown State. Cornell's a gimme. You'll win that one. Albany, you'll win. Bucknell's those are the. I'm like looking through the locks right now. So you got like 5. They still suck. That's at home.
It is.
They're going to be better though. Like they're going to be better. They got Malik.
Oh
Mack.
no, they are.
That was the guy that we were all we wanted so badly. but in the transfer portal, Malik Mack. But he went to that.
And they got a bunch of 2024 incoming freshman recruits that were former Syracuse recruits, and they're going to be better. They're going to be better. Yep.
I mean, they can't really be much worse. I guess that's the best way to put it. It's the same thing with like Louisville. Like Louisville can't be much worse than it has been the last few seasons because it's been bad over there. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets all on the NFL in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Let's talk about Syracuse football for a second. They were an underdog against Virginia Tech this week. How about that? They pulled off the home upset against Virginia Tech. I believe they were plus 3.5 on that game. And hey, they pulled off the upset, so good for them. Take advantage of those odds, right? When they come out against Boston College soon, just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We're joined by Neil Adler from Inside the Loud House. We've gone over important games in the schedule. We've gone over season expectations for Syracuse, but also just general ACC expectations. It's been kind of fun here. We're wrapping up the final segment here. We're going to get into our predictions for this upcoming season. I mean, you already said yours. I think this is a 20-win regular season team, like 20-ish. I would put it anywhere between like 20 and 23. I think that's kind of a fair margin.
20 and 11 to 23.
I'm looking at this team and I'm like, look, they won 20 games last season. Granted, one of them was against Chaminade, which doesn't really count. So 19 plus 1, call it that. But on the official stat sheet, it says 20. That was the first time in 10 years they did that in the regular season.
That's nothing to sneeze at, man.
And think about their rotation last year. It was like 6 players who could really play. Maybe. If we're being nice.
Injuries and tons of sophomores. Yeah.
It was not an experienced team. It was a first-year head coach. It seemed like every loss they got blown out. Every win would somehow be a nail-biter. And yet they still found a way to win 20. And I look at this team this year, and while I think it might lack the true top-end talent of a guy like Judah Mintz, although they might not matter this season, I think they're going to be pretty good. Like I'm higher on the media. I'm higher on this team than the media is too. Like I look at their roster and I'm like, I just think it's better. I think they got better players. I know it sounds like this isn't the most hard-hitting analysis, but I think they got better talent. I think J.J. Starling could be an all-ACC player. I think Chris Bell could be an all-ACC player. I think Donnie Freeman could I don't think he's going to challenge Cooper Flagg, but he could certainly finish second in ACC Rookie of the Year. I mean, Cooper Flagg is so good that Donnie Freeman could be an All-American this year, and he still might not win Rookie of the Year because Cooper Flagg exists. Yeah. For those that don't know, Cooper Flagg, #1 overall player in high school. He's going to be, in all likelihood, the #1 pick in the NBA draft. He's over at Duke. So Syracuse is stuck with the second best recruit in the ACC. Take that for what it's worth.
I'll take it.
I'll take it too. We're stuck with him. It's going to be so nice having him. He's the best guys in Mello. So I think you're looking at this team, and there's potentially 3 all-ACC players on it. I think they're going to be good this year.
Yeah, I do. They're I guess a little bit more of a mystery, quote unquote, just because so many new faces, but all the new faces, we talked about Donnie, Elijah Moore, top 10 shooting guard, Peter, again, just, playing overseas against high level competition. And then all 4 of their transfers were ranked, if we're talking about rankings, were ranked 4 stars by at least one recruiting service, if not more. Yep. And they're all veterans. Last year, I think they had 3 upperclassmen. This year, I think everyone's an upperclassman except for the 3 freshmen. Chance Westry.
When you look at last season's roster in terms of upperclassmen, once Naheem McLeod and Benny Williams went down, or not, Benny Williams was kicked off the team, Naheem McLeod injury. Once they were off the team, they didn't have a single upperclassman who actually like
No,
played
it was
regularly.
all,
They didn't.
all underclassmen, yeah.
All underclassmen.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think that'll help this team. And Eddie Lampkins played in the NCAA tournament, and Carlos is a steady point guard. And even though they're new to the program, it just seems like they, I see stuff on like the social media, they're bonding, they're doing stuff outside and, outside basketball. It just seems like they all just are buying. They just want to win. They're all maybe going to have different roles, so to speak. Jair Davis isn't going to score 17 points a game, but he could have a huge impact. And this team, I agree. I think they're going to make the NCAA tournament. I don't know if it's going to be in the first four or they're going to be a 4th seed or a 6th seed.
If you're asking me to sign on the dotted line, I'll take an appearance. Like, obviously, expectations and everything evolve over the course of a season, right? If Syracuse basketball starts 10-0 this year, like, expectations are going to change. Now we're going to start talking about like they will be in the tournament. Now we want them to be this seed or higher.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I'll just take a tournament appearance. I don't care how. I don't be like, well, you have to be in the 64 team bracket. Like, no, if you're a first 4 team, I will take it because it's been 3 years. It's time. There's got to be that next building block. We saw the women's basketball team do this. They narrowly missed the NCAA tournament first year under Felicia Leggett-Jack. The second year they're in the tournament right now. Can this year the women's basketball team, can they take another step? No Deasia Fair, so it might be tougher for them, but still,
yeah,
can
they got a big.
Syracuse basketball, men's basketball rather, is in year 2 of that plan with Adrian Autry. So the next step is get in the dance. Just get in the dance. Let's go dancing. I want to go dancing in March. I love dancing. It's my favorite activity. And it sucks when Syracuse isn't in there.
Right.
I want to go to March Madness. That is the expectation this season. That is, and I think they will.
I think they will.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Neil, thank you so much. That's Neil Adler from Inside the Loud House. This was a 2-part basketball season preview, which starts tomorrow. That's right. Tomorrow, as I have been saying on this podcast through the couple of exhibition games, Monday night at 7 p.m. when that ball tips off against Lemoyne, the Lemoyne Dolphins, now Division I. It's for real. These games coming up are going to count. And guess what? We're still also in football season, so don't worry. Don't worry. This is going to be a football and basketball podcast for the next few weeks and hopefully months on this channel. So, folks, that's Neil Adler. I'm Jackson Holzer. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like these 2 videos, click that like button. And if you really liked it, subscribe to the channel. Turn on those notifications so you know right away when I am dropping the next podcast, which will be a post-game reaction to Syracuse basketball's game against Lemoyne tomorrow night at 7. Jackson Holzer, Neil Adler. We'll talk to you again soon.